everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We have actor Jefferson Brown with us. And we're so excited to talk about The Way Home and all your other projects. And thank you so much, Jefferson, for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Rachel.
Yeah. So what we like to do with new guests is we like to give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit how you got inspired to get into acting.
All right. Well, I started acting in earnest in university. I was at small school in New Brunswick for fine arts. I was always a drawer, painter. And I went to a small school called Mount Allison University. Shout out to all my Mounties out there. The great thing about going to Mount A was that it offered everybody an opportunity to get involved. It's a small school in a small town, and if you couldn't keep yourself busy, then chances are you're going to get pretty bored. I went to a high school for enriched arts. I was there for my art, but we had a drama program and a musical program, and I was always amazed by the dramas that we would put on, the musicals we'd put on. And I was always very intimidated by those who were in those. They always seemed to have they seemed to know who they were. They seemed to have found themselves at an early age. And I was still looking, I think. I was still searching for exactly what I was or who I was. And a friend of mine and I, with my parents, went to a musical in Toronto called Crazy for You, a Gershwin musical. And,
love it.
My dog is making a cameo here. I was floored. I've never been so entertained. And then in my third year of university, I decided I was going to try acting, and I was going to see what kind of what the musical was that year we were going to put on. And it turned out we were putting on Crazy for You, and I thought it was a sign. And I auditioned. It was the first time I ever auditioned for anything, and I got the role of Lank Hawkins, who, if there's a antagonist in a Gershwin musical, he'd be it, which really played to my strengths. Well, it played less to my weaknesses because I wasn't a singer and a dancer. So Lank doesn't sing and dance a whole lot in the show. So it was perfect for me, and he got to get some laughs, and I was hooked. I loved the camaraderie of it. I always played sports growing up. Loved being on teams. Love the collaborative experience. And so this just was a natural fit for my interests. And so I was hooked right away. I had been playing club rugby at the school for the first 3 years. Come fourth year, I didn't play rugby. I just did the next musical, which was Once Upon a Mattress, and
another fun
plays. And came back to Toronto area. I was living outside of the city, and it made for a natural fit to just sort of set up home base in Toronto. And so that's what I did. This is Rudy. Rudy's an upstager. He likes the attention. I don't know where he gets it. He's a bit of a card. So that's where I started. I came back to Toronto, started working professionally, and I've been fortunate to sort of keep the lights on ever since.
That's great. I mean, I'm actually a theater critic as well as a film critic. So I love musical theater, and I love local theater. And I just saw Godspell last night. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan. So that's so fun that was your first step into the world of acting.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and it all works out. You know, everything leads to where we are today. So I'm happy with those choices, and university was a great experience. That's where I first met my wife. So that worked out well too.
Yeah, that's great. So do you remember your first role on camera?
Yeah. I think let's see now. Hang on. Maybe I shouldn't get too.
How did that all happen? Because you were doing the stage.
And my first time on camera, I believe I did a commercial. For I don't know, mutual funds or something. And then my first real role was for a short film called Pulling Punches
Uh-huh.
with a friend of a gentleman I met who then became a very good friend of mine, Carl DiPolino. He was just out of film school and was shooting his first feature, or shooting his first short outside of school, and met him at the audition for that, and got a lifelong friend out of it. And yeah, that set the bar pretty high for expectations after that.
So are you situated in Vancouver or Toronto? No, those are the two
in
hubs.
Toronto. I'm currently in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's home.
Yeah, because I think that's where they shoot. I know it's where they shot Good Witch, but it's also where they shot The Way Home, right? In Toronto?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
We have to talk about Good Witch, because I'm not joking. We were devastated when Ben didn't come back.
Oh yeah. You know what? Me too, Rachel. Me too. I wasn't sure. I didn't know what was going on with that, with the character, and I was stoked. I mean, I really enjoyed. I love everybody that I worked with on that that project. It was a great experience. So when it sort of the call didn't come for the other seasons, I didn't understand exactly why, but I'm happy to hear that others were as devastated. I'll take Schadenfreude in your pain on that.
You can listen to our recaps, because pretty much every other love interest they brought up for Stephanie, we were like, not as good as Ben.
Oh, you're too kind.
No, it's true. It's true. You can listen to the recaps. We really did. But we just thought you had really good chemistry, and it was a really fun role, especially ending with the movie theater renovation and then just be gone. It was terrible.
Yeah, well, we'll raise a glass to Ben and Steph, and hopefully they've found happiness. Maybe they found their way back to one another.
Yeah. But it must have been a fun. It seems like everybody I've interviewed from that show just had a ball. It seems like a great show to be part of.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I count my blessings every day when I get a chance to do what it is I love to do, and it's not lost on me on how lucky. I mean, for a lack of a better word, it really does come down to just being sort of in the right place at the right time. I mean, this city, this country is overflowing with talent, overflowing with such skilled performers and such incredible people that you want to work with. And when you have the opportunity to sort of call a show home for a few episodes or a few seasons, it really is just, right place, right time. And, through whatever alchemy that occurs, you get an opportunity to present a story in a way that makes a fan out of some. And I've always counted myself one of the very lucky ones. I mean, I've got limits. I'm not going to tell you my limits, but I have, there's so many strong performers in this city that don't get that opportunity nearly as much as they would in a normal or fair world. But yeah, it was a great experience. And like I say, just really fortunate to work with some really talented, creative people in front of the camera and behind the camera. So
Now,
I'll cherish that moment.
Did you just audition for the role, Ben, or did they come to you, or how did that happen?
I don't know if you can remember. You probably remember better than I can as far as the characters. But in that second season, the season starts with an arc of a sort of a mystery man who has come into town.
Oh yeah.
And the breakdowns came out. So like I'm not the first one to tell you how the business works on that level, where our agents will send out auditions, and along with the auditions, you'll get breakdowns of the character. So you know what the relationship, like a brief synopsis, like a tiny little few sentences to express, you know, who this character is, and then you interpret it as you do, and sort of move on. And I was given this breakdown along with the audition for the other character, and there were two breakdowns. There's this character who played like twins, I think, and another breakdown for Ben. They're on the same page, and I read through one, and just being the nosy Nancy I am, I read the breakdown for Ben as well, and I thought, well, geez, you know, Ben's right here in my front pocket, let alone my back pocket. I mean, I am Ben. I think my representation, they saw me as being, I think, more comfortable with a whiter collar, whereas the natural shade of blue that my collar is. And so when I read the breakdown for Ben, I auditioned for the other character. I put myself on tape for it and sent it in. But I said, listen, I just want you to take a look at my interpretation of Ben. I think I would be a better Ben. So
yeah, that's cool.
Take a look. And fair enough. They I guess they agreed, and they said, okay, you're a better Ben than this other guy. So
that's cool.
That's how I got that. I'm really, proud of that. And I wish we had more Ben to play with, but unfortunately, I digress.
So when you're put into a relationship on a show like with Kylie or with Andy, do you do anything to kind of build that chemistry?
It's a funny thing. So often I'll start with Kylie. You're trying to establish a rapport and an understanding, or you're kind of on a first date. And that was the nice thing about Ben and Steph, was that the audience sort of got to see them meet and got to see it blossom and grow. And that was very helpful for Kylie and I. I'd never met Kylie. I knew her husband, actually, but I never knew Kylie. And so it was a nice way for us to sort of get our sea legs, because we were kind of on first dates. We were kind of meeting each other. And I like to, I try to, in those situations, I try to generate as much rapport and get to know somebody, and just have fun, and what makes them laugh, or what what are their interests, and you can sort of find that that connection with especially with the fine actors like Kylie and Andy. I mean, it's pretty hard not to sort of fall in love with either of them, but with Andy, we get sort of thrown into this I love right from the hop in regards to shooting. That was my cat, by the way. It's just you turn the camera on this house and then everybody shows up. I mean, the only way we can do this is that school's in session, so we don't have them. But it was to play that love. It's a I kind of like having almost like a speed dating sort of scenario where like, tell me about yourself. What do you do? This is me, and this is what I do, and this is how I am, and this is how this looks when I do this. You know what I mean? So it's we're very fortunate on the way home to have such incredible writers, and at the same time directors, and the cast. It was all it all just sort of fit.
Well, you were also on When Hope Calls.
I was.
Yes. And so that must have been a fun show to be a part of, just the costuming and being out there with those houses they made, and everything.
That was such a great experience as well. You know, the set was inspiring, just to sort of have this physicality. Not, you know, when you shoot certain things, you have some studio space, but at the same time you're going on location and you're sort of making do with what the physical world offers. But to go into a situation where a old West town was built for you to play in, just sort of felt like, and they hand you the keys and you're like, okay, it felt like, you know, kind of what you kind of dream of when you think of shooting film and TV, and that cast. I mean, lifelong friends out of that experience. RJ and I really connected. Marshall and I really connected. The girls were great, but you know, it was just a really great opportunity. And then you throw on the costuming. The costume department just worked like Vikings to get us to look as good as we did, and to feel as comfortable as we did. You know, they got it, and I fell in love with Joe Moody's wardrobe. I just wanted to, every day I just sort of wanted to walk off set with everything I was wearing, nice high pants and suspenders, and it felt great.
Cool. Yeah, it was too bad it didn't catch on, because I thought it was, honestly, in some ways preferred it over When It Calls the Heart. But I know,
I think those are fighting words, Rach. I don't know if I got your back in this tangle, but that's a hot take.
It's true. What I liked, I guess, because I have three sisters, and so I kind of liked the sister dynamic that they had, so that was nice.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, between Morg and Joss, I mean, they were both so, I mean, absolutely shining stars. You know, it was they got some really nice chemistry as well, and everybody just was, it was just that was a good experience. I'm very fortunate to have been a part of that.
Yeah, you've had good luck with Hallmark shows. I mean, you're a lucky charm.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We keep it going. I've always enjoyed working in that world, because it was at a certain point, I don't necessarily watch what I do. It allows me to remove some of this abundant ego that I can have at times. Because if they don't use a take that you really like, or if the coverage is on somebody else, then I always feared that it would poison the experience that I had on the day. So what happens on the day is my time. That's the only thing I have control over. So I try my very best to keep my experience to certain projects limited to how it felt on the day. So it's not I've been very fortunate to work with some great people. And
we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. Best-selling author Irene Hannon is back with the latest installment in her Hope Harbor series, Windswept Way. Buying a supposedly haunted house wasn't in Ashley Scott's plans, but when an intriguing opportunity drops into her lap, she's ready to launch a new life. But she can't do it alone, and her reclusive new neighbor, Jonathan Gray, may be just the person to help, if only there were room in his life for romance. Come home to Hope Harbor, where hearts heal and love blooms. Buy Windswept Away today at bakerbookhouse.com and get 30% off and free U.S. shipping. That's bakerbookhouse.com.
Like from the way home from Twitter, at least, that you have been watching, though. Maybe so.
Yeah. This is where I didn't have a choice in it. I became so invested in the performances of everyone else.
Yeah.
I'm a legit fan of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And no spoilers here. I have not watched episode 10.
Oh, okay.
I never read episode 10. I had read all the other episodes. We had done script reading, so I knew what was happening. And then to watch it sort of play, it was really wonderful. And because I was only involved in like 1999, 2000, I enjoyed watching what was shot outside of my universe.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. If you were aware of kind of what was happening in the episode as a whole, so you got the scripts for the whole episode.
Yeah,
not just 1990.
So I tend not to. I'll focus on my character and I'll read what's going on, but I try not to become overly informed with with what's happening. I think for me it helps my performance in regards to my truth, my character's truth that is being presented, how it gets interpreted by others, or the relationship outside of my interaction with them. I try not to put too much thought into, because it's kind of like when you're telling a lie, you're telling a truth as you see it because you want them to believe you. And so if I was to read something that turned out to be a lie and I find out about it, then it's going to affect how I say it. So I like having there be that mystery. I mean, I don't know what conversation you had before we got online. I don't know what conversations you're going to have when we get offline. So it would affect how this conversation goes. And I'd rather it just be present and organic as much as possible. And it's hard with scripts, but what you can do is decide what to read and what not to read.
Yeah, I think it would. I would be so tempted to read, but I can see your point. And the only thing it would be maybe hard to know kind of where Kyler and Sadie are kind of coming from, their perspective. I think that would be kind of hard to sort of know how to play the scene if you didn't know where they were coming from and what they had experienced in them. But you do such a good job, so it obviously works.
Well, I hope so. I mean, you never. One of the sort of the nightmares of doing a show or performing in something is laying there in bed at night after you've done something and think, oh, I could have done it like this. Why didn't I? Oh, I should have done it like that.
Yeah.
It would have been so much better. But I find that, that's the ego messing with you. And if you go into it with like sort of the information you need, then hopefully the story will present itself. And I mean, that's kudos to the writing as well, that allows you to sort of come at it from an organic amount of information and let it sort of develop.
I know a lot of these shows they shoot in blocks of 2. Is that what they did for this show?
Yeah, it is.
2 episodes.
We shot the 10 episodes in blocks of 2 episodes each, with a director coming in and doing a block, and then another director coming in.
Yeah. So how did you first hear about the project? How did you get involved?
Well, it was the same sort of situation that we all go through. You sit around waiting for the phone to ring. And it was the audition for Colton came in, and I read my breakdown and I read the storyline, and I knew instantly that I had to do it. I needed this one. there's a lot of great projects that you read for, and you connect to it on a level, and it might be that it would be a lot of fun to do this kind of character, or this type of character. It would be great to do this kind of story. But for Colton and for The Way Home, it was immediate. And the reason is somewhat personal, not that I can't share it, but so I grew up in New Brunswick. I was born in New Brunswick. And my mom's name is Alice.
No way.
And my mom's name is Dell.
What? Wow, that's so cool.
So
you really did have to have it.
I had to kind of look at it a couple of times to figure out, like, wait, what? And like, did somebody write, like, did one of my family members write this?
Yeah.
But then I got into the scenes that they had me audition for Colton.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a similar response to that of Ben, as a father who is, trying his best, as a husband who's trying his best. There was a lot of alignment with what Colton was going through and feeling, and it just sort of sat right in my guts. It was it was one of those auditions, or one of those performances where you're just, I'm not acting, I'm just saying these words in a relationship that is really close to home. And I'm sure I joke with Alex and Heather. I'm like, I'm sure, your top 5 passed, and then you got me. But it was they saw it too. I think they saw that I was in the pocket, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, yeah. I mean, and then the stars aligned.
When you found out you got the part, did you freak out a little?
A little. A little.
Yeah, I bet.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was over the moon. I get chills thinking about those phone calls, where they're like, and there's interest, and you sort of get like these little bites along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's interest. Oh, we're checking your availability. You're going to network. You booked it. And it's just one of those things where, like I said, some jobs are jobs you want to do because you have to pay for groceries, and some jobs you want to do because you're excited about the story. And all this was just everything,
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got when I saw that, he's dead, it's like, part of me was like, I had to sort of pull Alexandra Clark, our showrunner, one of our showrunners, aside, a couple of weeks into shooting. I'm like, you got to be straight with me, because we only had episodes 1 and 2
right
to start. I'm like, you got to be straight with me, Alex. How long do I get to stick around? Because you can't do this to me. You
You're
can't
right.
sort of bring me to this world and have me interact with all these people and then tell me to say goodbye in episode 3. I'm not. My heart won't handle.
Right.
It'll be a bad scene for everybody when you tell me I have to go after I just walked in the door. Like, that's
right.
That won't work. And then she's like, you're going to be around for the season. And I was just like, all right, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's whatever. And then as the season progressed, I just was, every new episode that would come out. And it was great.
Yeah. Do you know if Alexandra and Heather have this thing mapped out? Like, do you have any idea if they kind of know what's?
I haven't a bit of. I'm not telling you anything.
I'm dying to know.
All I can tell you is that those two women are about as great a team. This is what makes them great bosses, is that they have surrounded themselves with an incredible writing staff and an incredible assistant director staff. And they have assembled some great directors that get it and can communicate it. And they the boss isn't always the one that knows everything. The boss is the one that knows enough to hire the right people for the job. And that's the kind of boss that Alex and Heather are.
Mm-hmm.
They're big brains, but at the same time, they're big hearts, and they know the business. So
yeah, we interviewed Heather a couple of years ago about Heartland.
Yeah.
And she's done such a great job with that show. So, we were really excited to see what she could do with this show. And so, yeah, I'm dying to talk to them and find out what's going on. But did filming the show make you nostalgic for 1999 at all?
Oh my God. I mean, yesterday, that's how it feels. You mean yesterday?
Yeah. Well, it's just the thing is, like, I was that was my freshman year of college, was 1999.
That was my graduation year.
Like, it doesn't feel like that long ago to me.
No.
Like, we're already getting nostalgic about, but when you think about Back to the Future, I mean, it was basically the same, if not even, it's even more of a distance than, because that was, I think, 20 something years in between, but it doesn't feel like that.
No.
Yeah.
I nostalgic in a way. What was so funny is that those years being so, ingrained. I mean, like I said, it was my final year of university, my first year of working professionally. And so, it wasn't just an arbitrary year to me, like if they had said 97 or 2001, I would be like, I don't care. I don't know, whatever. I mean, I got pants that predate 99. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I got t-shirts that are older than that I know are older, because it
was so smart doing 1999, because then you don't have to, if they've done 2001, you got to do 9/11. There's just like so much that happened that year. Sure. So it was smart to do 1999.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those, and the whole Y2K, I mean, really, a big time in our world, or could have been, I guess, but I think it sets a mood. Mm-hmm. I love it. I think my wardrobe is still the same as Colton's.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I was like, I've either owned this shirt or desperately want to own this shirt. And
you're like, can I take this from wardrobe?
Yeah. And then they're like, we're not selling anything. I'm like, that's a good sign. I guess that's a good sign if you're not selling anything.
That's true.
But it was, we all had a good laugh about it, thinking about what was going on in 99 in our lives. Sadie was like, I think I was breathing. I don't know. It was like, I wasn't born yet, or, and then you're like, oh my God, I was a fully formed adult. And
for real. Yeah. Well, so you play the guitar in the series. Yeah. Was that something you had to learn, or do you play the guitar?
That was something that I had to learn to perform on camera. Yeah, mm-hmm. I had a guitar. I probably bought it in 99. But I never really learned how to play it. So when they told me that I was going to have to play guitar, well, that was one of the things that was could have been a heartbreaker in the breakdowns. Colton's musicality was discussed in the character description, and I remember thinking, like, look, just do your best job with the lines and the acting, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, if we get to it. But let's not get down in the mouth over the whole musician thing yet.
Yeah, because he's not like a professional or anything. So
Right.
yeah.
And I clearly and quickly established my amateur status on camera and on set whenever the guitars came out. I mean, it was flop sweat, Rachel. I mean, it was I've before I started acting in university, I did nude modeling for the art classes as a part-time job. I was more nervous trying to play guitar on set than I was disrobing in front of my peers. Like that's the same sort of feeling. If you wanna imagine what either one feels like, do the other, and you're basically there. So
well, you did a great job. I love that scene with you and Alice with Sadie, you teaching her the song. And then there's such a payoff when she plays the song, and Dell, you just see the look in her eyes, like she can't believe
in what episode? In episode
I forgot.
10? Rachel!
I forgot.
Rachel. How are we going to be friends? How are we going to be friends if you keep doing this to me? No, I do know about that. And that was the great thing about working with Sadie, to just name a few, is that she is a musician. She is a singer.
Yeah.
But what my focus was in those scenes was to establish that relationship of kindred spirits.
Yeah.
Even if for Colton, I mean, Colton doesn't know who Alice is to him, but he recognizes a warmth, and you get those feelings from people, those vibes. And I think he got those from this friend of his daughter's, and like in a completely sort of in a curiosity way, like you know what, like you're a good kid, and he really, obviously she was of such an importance to him in regards to the relationship with his daughter, and he was highly appreciative of her. And so when he had that opportunity and we had those moments of connection, it was easy to play the connection with Sadie, because she's so open and so willing. She's such a bright light that you just sort of want to stand in front of it.
Now, if you have a heavier scene that you're performing, is that hard to kind of be in that kind of heavy space as an actor during the day when you kind of get ready for like a dramatic emotional scene?
It is for me. Normally it can be anxiety ridden. You want those words to resonate. You want that feeling, that you want the heaviness to be felt from the viewer, and you have to find the weight. And I mean, I always look at episode 9. Episode 9 was
pretty heavy,
about as heavy as I've ever been asked to be. And it was, again, going back to Heather and Alex and the rest of the cast, I had such an incredible support group around me, and I felt safe to go where I needed to go in order to present the story that it was written. And it just became a matter of hearing the words come out. And if I could allow the words to land on me, then I knew through the power of the writing, it was going to land on the viewer. So it was that day, I remember at the end of the day, or nearing the end, Kim Huffman, who played our therapist, who's, I'm a big fan of hers from her work, asking me, so what are you going to do now? Like, are you going to just, like, how are you going to decompress from this day? Because it was a long day. We shot all of the group therapy stuff in one day. And she's like, you must be drained. I'm like, I want to celebrate. I kind of want to celebrate, because I felt like we had accomplished something that I had been building up in my mind for weeks. I knew this day was coming, and I wanted to make sure I was giving it everything I possibly could. And Norma, our director, and Alex was on set, and I was just checking in, and they were, 100% behind me, that really supportive. Norma knew exactly what to say at the right times. Heather wasn't there, but I knew that she was present in what was being said, and Alex had my back. And that was an extremely heavy day, but it was also a very fun day. Like, I don't know if fun's the right word, but it was like it's kind of like a roller coaster. As is life, there's ups and downs, and it scares the bejesus out of you, and you fear for your life, and then it stops, and you just want to get back on and do it again. And that was how the day felt. Like, now I know what I want to do with the rest of my life, kind of idea. Like, I don't fear those days. I just want to do this again and again as much as possible, because it was cathartic. I'm a big believer in therapy, and it was therapy for me to sit amongst my peers and get the opportunity to speak those words and feel those feels. So, well,
you said on Twitter, and forgive me for quoting you, you said that so many fathers and sons suffer in silence, chained to prehistoric notions of strength. You said, I want to thank our writers and storytellers and everybody at Hallmark Channel for presenting a character who shows the struggle and pain and knows he needs help. Talk to your loved ones. So was that something that you felt while you were filming it, or was it especially kind of poignant when you watched it back, or both?
It was both. It was a feeling that I'd been having for a while, a long time. Well, I lost somebody dear to me to suicide just over a year ago. So it was very fresh, and I suffered in silence. And it was one of those things where I feel that had he been able to, if not me, then someone have that opportunity to share those feelings, he wouldn't have left us when he did.
Yeah. So, I thought this was very moving, and I agree. There's even not just men, but I think probably, as you say, fathers and sons, but that we need to do better about letting people share their feelings and not feeling like we need to fix everything right away. Because I think that can put like a lot of pressure on the person and maybe make them less likely to seek help if they feel like they have to be fixed.
Yeah, I think you're right. It goes both directions. I think the teller and the listener, we can all learn to get better at both.
Yeah.
We get so almost apathetic to the call response notion of hellos and how are yous, and the I'm all right. Yeah, I'm good. What's up? Nah, not much. It becomes sort of so knee-jerk reactive, and maybe we have to find different ways to allow those people who are suffering to know that they are loved and cared for, and not concerned for, but your well-being. I'm invested in your well-being. I want you to know that.
Yeah, and I think
this isn't me just making lip service. This is me asking a loved one what's going on. And
yeah, and I think Colton you could tell that it really, especially, I think it would be especially hard to be in this sort of middle space where he hasn't been found. There's no closure. What do I do? How much do I hope? Like, I feel like, especially for that character, like having somebody to talk to and that's not Dell, I think, or Kat, I think that it would be especially meaningful.
Yeah. Again, in 99, like you think back to where we were in 99 in comparison to where we are now in regards to the feelings of mental health and therapy, and like, why didn't he tell his family? And I think a lot of that it flew against the notion of strength, or the notion of father or provider, or having it all together. Our concept of what our parents are, like, the parents have the answers, whether we like to hear them or not. They have them, but we don't.
Yeah. My grandma experienced a trauma when she was in her 20s, and they just like never talked about it ever, and just buried it. And then it finally all came up in her 80s. She finally had to deal with it, and it just doesn't go away. You have to process it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things of admitting the problem is the first good step in solving the problem. And I have to give a lot of credit to the writers and the channel, the broadcasters, to allow. I think what was so great about Colton is that he sort of presents as this, your regular, like, he seems pretty like a normal Hallmarky kind of dad, like he's got answers, and he smiles a lot, and he loves his wife, and he loves his kids, and he does. But I think it allows for this sort of little peek and behind the curtain, and it allows for, that's sort of the escapism for Kat, to see this struggle that she didn't quite understand when she was experiencing it in 99, but she could see the struggle that was occurring on, it wasn't blame, it wasn't guilt, it was personal. And for Hallmark to allow this strong, sort of robust kind of guy who seems to have it all together, to show that pain, and to show the try and the failure. I mean, that's what's happening, is that he's failing, but he knows he's failing, and he's trying to figure out how to stop failing. And that journey is not one that I don't think you see it very often.
Yeah, I agree. Well, one of the most fun parts of the show has been all the sort of theorizing. Like, after every episode on our little group chat that we have, it gets very excited. We're all, oh, well, what happened? What about that in 1999? Or what about where
you
Jacob
guys are
go?
Crazy good.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. And even our co-host Casey, she has this whole written timeline that she has marked out about when everything happened. It's very brilliant. And I don't know, if as you're thinking about the upcoming season 2, is that something that you've kind of had fun with, as far as like wondering what they're going to do with the characters?
Well, I listened to some of the podcasts too.
Oh, you did?
I listened to your podcast.
Oh.
And I was actually I had my headphones in while I was working on a motorcycle, and I'm listening to my Hallmarkies podcast. Very, what normal guys who work on motorcycles listen to. And I got to thinking, like, oh yeah, what if
yeah,
who's the witness?
yeah, and the white witch,
they never named that person. Who could that be? And so I started going through all these things. I'm just trying to figure out ways, Rich, that I can get back in on like a regular, consistent basis, because it's kind of like, I know how fun the playground is and I'm going to get to visit it. But it's like, you know, when you have like really cool cousins that live away from you. And they live this really cool, fun life with dirt bikes, or maybe they got like an ice cream machine or something. And you get to visit it, but at the same time, you know, they live there and they have it all the time. That's how it's going to feel for me in season 2, I'm afraid. Because I'm just going like, I just want the dirt bikes and ice cream like I did in season 1.
I don't want to spoil any more of episode 10, but I think there's avenues. There's ways that we can see Colton again.
Well,
for sure.
like I say, I'm in Canada. We got episode 10 airs. It hasn't aired yet.
Oh, okay. That's why.
It's not that I'm behind. It's just that my country is. I mean, we have
Canada.
Medicare. We have free Medicare, but we don't have episode 10 yet. So I'm going to get a chance to watch it with some of the producers and
fun.
the assistant director. So we're going to that happens in a couple of days. I'm not sure when this will air, but that happens in a couple of days. I'm very much looking forward to it.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Real quick before we end, we have some get to know you questions.
Okay.
And first one, what is the best ice cream flavor?
The best ice cream flavor is from New Brunswick, from a dairy in New Brunswick called Peanut Butter Fudge Crunch. And anybody who went to Mount A knows that is the only right answer.
Sounds
Peanut
good.
Butter Fudge.
All right. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Okay. What music are you into right now?
It depends. It's either hard, like rap, or metal, or country.
Wow. Okay.
It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm in the car, it's usually country. If I'm working out, it's usually Metallica.
Okay.
Or if I have my headphones and my kids can't hear it, it's Run the Jewels.
Okay, good. You're not listening to the podcast.
Yeah. If I'm not listening to if I'm working on my motorbike, it's only podcasts, Hallmarkies.
Good. Okay. What is your go-to date night food?
Oh God, date night food. Hopefully something that I can't spill down my face.
Yeah.
If it's my wife and I eat steak. I love steak. That's a special treat.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. And not messy. That's the thing with Italian food. Very messy and garlicky.
Yeah.
Not great date
I have
food.
a couple of, it's kind of like one of those things where it's all a mood thing. It's a mood. Yeah. It's a vibe.
All right. Well, what's your go-to date night activity if you're going out and doing something?
Oh, it's changed. I mean, as a parent, you don't get many of those anymore.
Yeah.
I love seeing friends. I love connecting with old friends. I love meeting new friends. So it's going to be someplace that we can maybe sit down, have a cocktail or a pint and talk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the best sort of going out or the date night activity. I mean, my wife and I, we love to have people over. I love to host dinner or pancakes on a brunch and just sit around and stuff our faces and hang out. I like to hang out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at hanging out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've seen both of yours, but which do you like better, dogs or cats?
No comment.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I love them equally.
Okay. Which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
Ooh. I think beaches, water.
Yeah, that's me for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I just take the mountains for granted because I live in Utah.
Oh, do you? Okay. Yeah. So it's your backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right. What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Favorite holiday to celebrate? Christmas.
Yeah, it's hard to beat Christmas because it's like a whole season.
Yeah. Like we don't really do the Thanksgiving that you guys do. We have our own. We get it out of the way so that we can really focus on Christmas.
It's in like October, right?
Packed up a bit too tight.
Yeah.
But no, I think Christmas is it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah. All right, last question. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Yeah.
God, there's so many. I really like Love Actually.
Yeah.
As far as romantic, I get a kick out of that because I find that with the multiple storylines, certain storylines can break me down.
Yeah.
On different years at different times. So I get a kick out of just experiencing that, which one is going to land this year. Romantic.
Yeah, that's a good answer. We love Love Actually. So very good. Well, you did it. You answered all the questions.
Oh, great. Right on.
Thank you so much. This was such a fun interview. I really enjoyed talking with you. So thanks so much for coming on. And if people want to follow you on social media and get your tweeting about episode 10, how do they do that?
Well, I'm on Twitter, Jefferson B76, at Jefferson B76. And if you got any more questions that aren't spoilers, then reach out and we'll discuss.
Great. Well, thanks again. And good luck. And hopefully getting to see more of you in season 2.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. This has been a lot of fun.
I'd like to thank Jefferson for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with him. I really enjoyed this interview. I thought he was really authentic and sweet and funny, just great. I really enjoyed this one. So let us know what you think about the different things we talked about in the comment section or on Twitter. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And make sure that if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and merch store, so check that out. And thanks again to Jefferson. We'll talk to you all later. Bye.